In this week's episode, we find out what made Chris say this.
They give you $2 million worth of inventory. How do I take that $2 million and turn it into 2.5? How do I turn it into 3 million? How do I turn it into 4, etc.? Well, welcome back, folks. Here we are, season 2, episode 5. I'm Chris Keene on behalf of our co-hosts, Mr. John Anderson, Mr. Renaldo Leonard. We welcome you to another episode. Gentlemen, I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to get this thing fired off. John, tell the world something good in the automotive industry. Tell us about something good in this century, not your old ones, but right now. Tell us about something good that's going on in today's time in the automotive industry from your vantage point.
Shopper counts are up and folks are selling cars. So
Love
to me, that's what it's all about. Now, we've got a good solid 30 to 45 days of the summer selling season left. So, and shopper counts have spiked dramatically, and I see a lot of our dealer partners are up in sales. So how do we ride that thing, and how do we continue to take that thing to the finish line for 2025 and outperform 2024. So that's all good stuff. All good stuff.
I love that. That's a good call out there, Anderson. Good call out. Naldo.
Yes, sir.
Something good, baby. Tell us something good.
Man. Second half is over. Moving into the third quarter. If you don't have that game plan in full effect, yeah, it's a great opportunity to, just kind of piggyback on what John said. Take the fact that we've got more shoppers out in the market. We've got an abundance of inventory, and now's the time to really kind of capitalize on how things have progressed to this point. Manufacturers bringing some strong incentives to the marketplace, which is going to continue to drive trade-ins and drive that used car market. So for those that are running that strong, tight used car inventory, sitting in the catbird seat. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's all played out the way. Yeah.
You kind of took mine. I mean, I was going to say, trades. We're seeing our dealer partners. We're watching their amount of inventory comprised of trades. We're watching that number go up. So, which is a really good thing. I'm loving seeing how much more dealers are open to the idea of getting trades outside of, or keeping trades, I should say, outside of what they have historically been quote unquote comfortable with. I think that with this market re-level setting back to, and I'm going to go back to what an operator from a really good dealer out there was saying when they sat there and said, they said this to me 2 weeks ago, we are back to the way we did business in 2018. For the last 5 years, everybody is, they kept what they could, especially those first couple, 2 or 3 years after COVID. And then everybody started getting selective. Oh, I'm going to wholesale that rig. No. We got dealers now saying, oh, no. If I'm going to wholesale that rig off, that means it's going to be a piece of merchandise out there for my competition. I'm going to lose market share. So we're seeing a lot of these dealers starting to keep a lot more inventory outside of what they quote unquote think they should keep by purely looking at, and this is a, not intentional plug for Lotpop, but when we're showing them inside there, whoa, time out. You may not want to get rid of that because that bucket of inventory is selling well for you in that class or in that year or in that price point. And that vehicle falls into that. So you might want to keep it. I know it's not historically what you would keep. It's a Chevy Malibu in your Nissan store. So those stores are keeping that inventory, and that's helping them, John, to your point of that shopper count rising, getting a little bit more slice of that pie and making their pie a little bit bigger. So I see a lot of that as well. Things, John, that you're seeing that are still crippling dealers? What are you seeing?
The biggest thing I'm seeing that's crippling dealers is middle bucket bleed through, just not managing your aging buckets properly, and having a true understanding of what that's all about. Right. I think, as that's talked about, and I hear it talked about a lot on not just with us, but several companies that we, are good friends with. I mean, listen, I think, Chris, every time we do a launch call with a new dealer, right, we always ask the question, what's your thoughts on a vehicle when you sell it? And everybody agrees that it's in the first 30 days. It's while it's fresh. So everybody agrees with that. But what I see a lot across our dealer partners, and I see a lot when I'm on a demo and with dealers, is there just doesn't seem to be a solid understanding of where the bleed off of gross is coming from, right? A lot of times dealers will say we're pricing our inventory too cheap. And that's typically not the reason why you're having a bleed off of gross. It's because you're not taking action in bucket management. Your inventory is bleeding through. You have aged inventory. That's where the bleed off's coming from. So I think there's just a misconception on where, we're losing gross opportunity as a dealer, and understanding, how do we manage that so that we get the biggest return, right? And back to your point that you made earlier, I've heard a lot of discussion. It's about what I was talking about was best end user on the inventory, right?
Yes.
Right. And so I understand that concept. I really do. And it's true. But, I think if I'm a dealer that's having trouble getting inventory, which not everybody, but a majority of the people that I talk to are still screaming about that situation, right? Then, in my opinion, I'm gonna give a shot on any inventory that I get in. Now, I may have to adjust my strategy, right? Because there might be a better best end user than me, but I'm still going to give it a shot, especially as much as we hear how hard it is on the acquisition side. Get a vehicle in unless it's broken. I'm going to go for it and give it a shot and try to retail that vehicle, gain a customer, get a trade, get some F&I, get all the positive things that come with acquisition. Yes. And I want to build my throughput of transactions through my dealership, because if I'm winning in that area and running the most transactions through, then I've got a successful dealership all the way around.
100%. And, you talked about, John, the middle bucket management, the bleed through when we do launch calls, the things that we see. Matter of fact, Brett, do me a favor. I'm sharing a screen. Do me a favor, put that on stage. And for those on YouTube, for those on Spotify, you'll be able to see this. For those that are on Apple, I'll explain what we're looking at. Now, this is a brand new dealer. Matter of fact, we have a launch call with them this afternoon. They don't even know what they don't know yet. But this is also part of the reason, why they're a brand new dealer with us. And if you take a look at this second set of charts here, this first one is showing, the first chart is showing them how much of their inventory is sitting in which buckets. 0 to 30-day old inventory, 49% of their inventory. 31 to 60-day old inventory, 26% of their inventory. 61 plus, 25% of their inventory. And they're all in red. Because in our world, here at Lotpop, we press our dealers to have 65% or more of their inventory in the first 30. That's 0 to 30 days old, because we all know cars that are sold in the first 30 will yield the most gross and mitigate the least amount of loss, because we're also not blind to the fact that Bob and Betty has bought 17 cars from you. They've sent all their kids and their neighbors and everybody else, and they're coming to trade their vehicle back in, and you may have to step up and give more money for it. Well, that's okay, because in that first 30, it's going to lose the least amount of gross at that time. But brand new dealer, you can see here 49, 26, 25% of their inventory is sitting in that first 30, 31 to 60, 61 plus. But to John's point is that middle bucket management. you've got inventory north of 30 days old. I mean, look at it. We've got 18% of our sales coming from 31 to 60, which is good. But then we have 33% of our sales at this dealership. 33% of the sales coming from the 61 plus day old inventory. So what's the byproduct of that? Net profit loss, thinner commissions for salespeople, unless you're spiffing them on the aged inventory, less gross profit, which variable gross people typically are paid on variable gross. Margins get depleted. So you got managers making less money, salespeople making less money, culture shifts start to happen. And one of the episodes that we were looking at, that this is a beautiful segue to it. One of the episodes we were looking at in the past that got a lot of activity, a lot of questions, a lot of views was the episode of where did all my good salespeople go? Well, hell, there's part of the reason right there. Why would a salesperson stick around if they're not making any money? But then you also ask that question, where did all my good salespeople go? We're not making as much gross, and the salespeople I have don't know how to do it, and we're not running the volume. Well, what's the quality of follow-up look like? I don't know. I just pulled this dealer up, but I bet you dollars to donuts that not only did the inventory bleed through, I bet you the leads bled through with it. What do you think, Renaldo? I think it did. So let's take a look.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you look at the fact that, 51% of their leads are sitting on that inventory that's over 61 days, it would have had to have bled through with those units. And there's 27 units. And I think it said that there were 15 of those 27 that did not have leads on it. So 12 units in the inventory producing 51% of the leads.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a challenge. Brett, you can go ahead and take that on stage. I think that's a challenge that is causing that. Where did my good salespeople go? The second challenge that we've identified, I mean, we're seeing it all over LinkedIn. We're hearing it from our dealers. The second challenge that we're running into is from the factory. The support, or maybe in some cases lack of support that they get from the factory. Renaldo, before we all came on stage today, you were talking a little bit about that. Unpack that a little bit more to the things that we're hearing from our dealers about the OEM support.
Well, there's, what we have to understand when we look at it from all different views and all different angles, the manufacturer, their job and how they produce revenue for their shareholders is to manufacture vehicles and have those vehicles sold downstream to dealers so that they can feed their pipeline. And so over recent years, policies and programs that have come out have been designed to do just that. Get those vehicles and get that inventory moving from the factory to a dealership so that the dealer can go ahead and turn that, flip it, sell it on the retail level to consumers out in the marketplace. A lot of dealers have expressed frustration with that whole process over the last few years because it doesn't really always put the dealer in a favorable position. And a lot of people are calling for some change to make sure that the OEM sets dealers up for success. But there's a battle. How do we get this done? How does every mouth get fed? It's not a zero-sum game. There's a big enough pie out there for everybody to get a piece and to be able to, sustain their business model and generate profit. But until the manufacturers come to the table with a better situation for dealers, it's going to be a difficult situation for dealers to try to navigate, to bring that inventory in, have some inventory forced in their direction, even though they are not the best end user for those particular models or segment of inventory. But it's one of those things that we'll come to the we'll come to this situation where everything will work out. We just have a lot of other things that are going to have to be navigated through before we get there. But to the point, dealers are having to take what you get, and you get some lemons. You're just going to have to make lemonade. You press out the juice, every ounce of juice that you can get out of the squeeze, sprinkle a little sugar on it, maybe put a little another spice in there too to kind of give it a little kick, and then just start pouring glasses.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, sprinkle a little paprika. Paprika does everything. Okay, paprika is good for anything.
Not lemonade, bro. No,
but it gives color. At least give us some color. Okay, at least give us some color. But you bring a valid point. I mean, they're there to obviously support. They're there to provide opportunities. And listen, by no stretch of the imagination are we saying OEMs are horrible. That's not what we're saying. But I will say, if this podcast makes it into the hands of, or to the ears of anybody on the OEM side of things, we are saying, hey, pump the brakes a little bit and listen to what your customer's saying, which is the same customer we have, which is the dealer partner. I mean, for a prime example, Ford. You got Escape, you got Bronco Sport. Never fails. We can watch incentives go up on Bronco Sports and sales on Escapes decline, and allocation drop still happening of dealers getting more Escapes.
Right.
But then you can see the incentive go up on the Escapes, and then the Bronco Sport sales decline. So, I mean, it's like you got two vehicles cannibalizing each other. In the Stellantis world, you got the Hurricane engine that was supposed to be the latest and greatest and replace the Hemi. Well, what's Ram doing now? Bringing the Hemi back because they found out the Hurricane motor sucks. And if there's any listeners, that are in a Stellantis store, if I get an amen, just go ahead and type it in the comments below, because we're all screaming the same thing. But if I'm not a Ford store, or if I'm not a Stellantis store, and I'm trading for a Hemi, know this, guys, it's gold. It's gold. If I'm a Chevrolet store and I'm trading for, an Escape, well, you better call your buddy down at the Ford store and find out what kind of incentives not are on the Escape, but on the Bronco, on the Bronco Sport, because you could be trap trading yourself. So it's little things like that that have caused such imbalance, but then leads back to, where did all my good salespeople go? Leads back to what John and Renaldo both were talking about as the best end user for a piece of inventory. If you're listening to this call and you're a retail automobile dealership, you have a used car department, the brand doesn't really matter, because there is no brand loyalty anymore. Not even with Subaru, not even with Toyota, not even with Honda. What matters is what can my store in my market with my people do? And if you got that vehicle, like John talked about, taking that shot, take the shot, just take it the right way. But also, what is the right way? Well, hell, we don't know until we understand where that piece of inventory is in the market. And there's a million different tools out there to help you with that. I mean, John, look at all these different inventory management tools right now and the enhancements they've made to help drill that in a little bit more. Look at what we do, showing exactly what my store and my market with my people, what they're actually doing in the now moment and not in potential lagging data. So you have resources to help keep that culture up with inside your dealership, where everybody's hugging and singing Kumbaya and selling cars and making good things happen. But we just got to take a step back and really look at all the puzzle pieces, because if we're not going to get the support everywhere we need it, you got to, like we've heard David Long say a million times over on All Things Used Car on Clubhouse, you got to create your own market. Got to create your own market. So those are some things that we're seeing. John, when it comes to, because like I noted earlier, one of our most raving episodes in this podcast has been, where have all my good salespeople gone? Talk to our listeners, talk to our viewers for a minute about, from that time when we aired that one till now, some additional things that we're doing to help cultivate that good salesperson.
Some additional things that we're doing as a team ourselves?
No, as an industry. And then, yes, some things that we're doing at Lotpop to help coach up our dealer partners. Let's pass that nugget on to those that aren't dealer partners with us to help you improve that.
Well, it's a great question. I don't know if I can speak for the industry, honestly. I can only speak from what I'm seeing. I think it just boils down to, and I'm not trying to simplify this, because it is, we talked before we got on this call that the podcast, that it was it's a complicated situation. Because you have things, you have things from both sides. You have responsibility as a dealer and a management staff at the dealership to salesperson has a responsibility to the ownership and management staff to be a customer service agent at a level that surpasses competition within the dealership and competition outside the dealership, right? Because we have, I don't know if many salespeople understand that, but we have competition within our dealership and outside the dealership. Again, we've thrown this out here before, but if the data is that the average customer sends out 12 to 15 leads when they enter into the market, and then how many times, guys, are we on a meeting call and we see, I don't know, they tend to get a lot of leads. Cadillac Escalade store at 15 leads. It's in stock. It's got 15 leads on it within the dealership. So as a salesperson, I'm not only competing with those 12 to 15 other dealerships out there in the marketplace, but I'm also competing internally with my own peers for an opportunity of the pie, right? And so it really just comes down to customer service. I don't know if you guys, and I'm not trying to simplify this, but I don't know if you guys have experienced what I've experienced, and maybe it's just because I'm old and I'm curmudgeon-y, right?
You said it.
But I got to tell you, fellas, just walk into a Walmart, if you go out to eat, you know what I find, and this is sad. You know what I find? I find myself tipping. I'm a good tipper because I know how hard that work is. That's how I started out when I was 14 years old. I was working in a Chinese restaurant, washing dishes, and I got a portion of the tips. Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. So I know how hard.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dig into this a little bit.
Oh man, dude, I could tell you some stories, brother.
I bet you could.
But I know how hard that is in being a server, right? And so I find myself tipping really well for just average service anymore because the bar's dropped.
Oh, dude,
it's just no offense. Look, I'm not trying to offend any younger folks out there. I'm really not. I'm just saying the level of service out there in general is terrible anymore. And so you're talking about people. What I read the other day, the average used car price is, I think, $35,000 or $37,000. I know that you're talking about people that you're asking to spend with you $35,000, even if it was $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was $10,000, how many of you walking around with 10 G's in your pocket right now? right? That you
But
could drop on.
John, to your point of that, if the average transaction is $35,000, in some cases, you're asking people to spend over half of their median income.
100%. 100%. That's a great point, Chris. And so what level of service should I be providing to that customer? What, right? Is it make an initial contact and then not contact them for another 7 or 14 days? No, it's not. No. It's I owe that customer. I was about to say I owe that dealer. That okay? Yes, you do, because that's
the dealer and the
customer.
Position,
but you owe that customer, right? Yeah. That's number one, right? I owe that customer a level of service that they deserve. And guess what? If I'm not providing it, they have the final say so, because they have 12 to 15 other opportunities out there that they've sent leads to. And I could also work with somebody else in your own store. So when we start talking about this stuff, Chris, it's multi-leveled, right? Yes, there is a responsibility from the owner and the management team to make sure that the salesperson is trained up, to make sure they have the opportunities, to make sure they understand that this is what it takes to be successful at our store. I've mentioned this to you guys before we came on. I fear that there are a lot of places out there that we just come into work. The sales managers go into their offices, or go up to the sales desk or wherever it is that they work from, and they start working and wearing their multiple hats that they have to wear every day, submitting deals, checking on deals, going out and assessing the trades from last night or yesterday, right? All those things that we have to do as managers. And then the salespeople just come in, they go into their offices, and they start what we hope is talking to customers, right? But how many times do those two sides of the dealership check in with each other, with one another, and how much accountability is there from both those sides? Accountability from the management team that, hey, I've got a customer, I need your help with this customer, and the responsibility from the salespeople to work the customer and provide what Renaldo said is world-class service. I think that's a major thing. Look, we're our own worst enemy, and I don't think young people understand that. I think we have a lot of good young people that have come in since COVID. We've had a lot of transition of younger folks coming into the store, but you guys were spot on. When we come out of COVID, a lot of that, there are people lining up to buy cars. That's not how the car business operates. That's not normal, right? And so, so when it comes down to it, most customers still would rather go get their teeth pulled than come into a car dealership, right? So how do I take that reality and turn that around from a customer perspective? And that's the bottom line. Well,
right there, but it's right there, John. I mean, you talked about it right there. The thing you just said, most people would rather have their teeth worked on than come into a dealership. Stop right there. When we had Rob Ruth on and we had Rob Dell on, they talked about it. The number one thing, and I'm paraphrasing here, that they do with the customer when they get a hold of them and answer the questions because they read the lead. Hey, has this thing got a sunroof? Yes, it does. Hey, by the way, I noticed that you're here local. Did you want to come by the dealership, or did you want to do this whole transaction digitally? Or I noticed that you're 2 hours away. Did you want to make a day trip out of it and come check out some of the local sites here in town along with pick up this new vehicle? Or did you want to do everything digitally? But back to your point of, you got folks that just got in the car business, and one of our very first episodes we ever talked about, no more shooting fish in the barrel. Yeah, we were able to look at customers and go, hey, bud, I don't care if you say no, because I got 15 people standing over there waiting for you to say no, and 4 of them are ready to pay more money for it than what I've got it advertised for. Those days are gone. They're gone. So that's 100%, John. The bar has lowered. And quite frankly, I mean, not to be mean or anything, if we offended you, raise the bar. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about being offended. Raise the bar. Yeah. Because it is up to them to raise that bar. It's up to the seller. It's up to the management. It's up to the executive leadership. It's up to the ownership. Raise the bar. You talked about you working for tips. John, I don't know if you ever heard this, but tips is actually in the industry, in the restaurant industry, in the food service industry, is also in some regions of the U.S. is referred to. It's an acronym. TIPS stands for to ensure proper service.
Yep.
So it's like the customer is going to pay you and pay you well. You talked about being a good tipper. Hey, everybody starts at 20% with me. When I go out to eat supper, they start at 20%. You could go up, but you damn sure could go down. So, yeah, John, sorry to cut you out there, but
no, you didn't cut me off. You didn't cut me off. You made some great points.
It just frustrating, man.
The responsibility that we have, and guys, full transparency. I mean, part of my role here at Lotpop is dealer experience.
Mm-hmm.
Look, hey, everybody watching out there or listening, I can point a finger at the screen, but guess what? Three fingers pointing back at me, right? Because there's been times I've dropped the ball myself in the way I've handled things, because I let things get in the way of what job number one should be. And job number one should be the customer. But I've let things get in the way. Preconceived notions. What was happening in my personal life. The ability to separate.
Compartmentalize.
And look, I don't want this to get into a psychology call. Yeah, I don't want this to get into a psychology podcast. This is not what it's about. But it is about how many dealers are there nationwide, guys?
Franchise, what is it? 22,000 franchise?
Is that, and then independent? You think about the amount of dealers we have nationwide in our country, and look, the reason why we most of us get in this business is because of the competitive nature of it. I know you guys were athletes, so was I. That's what I loved about the business, is it was a parallel to competitiveness, right? And so, think about all the time you did. Think about all the time you film studied and all the look here. I'll end this because I don't want to dominate this thing, but think about all that. Think about from day one, from a dealer perspective, Mr. Dealer, Mr. General Manager. Think about all the things that you have to line up within your dealership, all the time, effort, and energy that you have to spend, the dollars, not only for marketing, advertising, if you buy at the auction, what it costs you to participate in craziness. Think about all the time, effort, and energy that is poured into a single transaction.
Oh, how many?
That's your true ROI right there. That's your true ROI right there. Think about that. It'd make your head explode, right? Oh, yeah. And then I have a 1 in 12 or a 1 in 15 shot to earn a customer's business on a vehicle that I've invested all that time, effort, and energy in. How would you want that handled at your store? And do your salespeople understand that? And more importantly, do your managers understand, right? I've got a car sitting out there that's 28 days old. I've had it priced and I haven't changed the price since it come into inventory, and I don't have a customer on it.
Or better yet, it's been sitting out there for 28 days, John, and you've missed the fact that it hasn't got its full set of photos yet. Or you missed the fact that it's just a vent explosion on the custom comments, if it even has custom comments. Or it does have the full set of photos, and you missed the fact that you had a substitute photographer that day, and the photos look like garbage.
Or there's no interior color marked.
Or there's no interior color. Somebody's looking for a black and gray, black exterior with gray interior leather, Silverado pickup truck, and you've got everything done except for the gray. And now your vehicle, hell, you might as well not even posted it. So then you talk about the ROI. If you've got a bucket of inventory on a third-party site for 150 cars, well, really all you did is absorb that cost across 149 because that 150th car didn't even show up.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about those basic fundamentals, Renaldo. You shared with us. We're saying, hey, dealer principal, GM, the operator, managers, do we know these things? Are we paying attention to these things? The answer is, do we know these things? The answer is yes, we do. Mm-hmm. But because respectfully, we know you got bullets whizzing by your head all day long, but reduce it to the ridiculous, reduce it to the basics, reduce it to the fundamentals of the blocking and tackling that got us to the successes that we got to. Mm-hmm. Renaldo, you shared with us a little card you got from Gene Messer.
Oh,
share that card.
Yeah. This is what I got when I happened upon the auto industry. I don't know if you can see that there, but this was the 10-step sales process.
Still carrying it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how valuable is that to you that you're still carrying that? That's my point, right? You still got that thing in your hand. Chris asking, you accessed it immediately, right?
Absolutely. I mean, because every conversation that I have with a salesperson, it always starts right here. Doesn't matter where you're working, any dealership across the country, they should have a sales process. And that sales process is built on the basic fundamentals of providing world-class service for your prospect, which eventually is going to become your customer. And then your customer is going to eventually become your billboard out into the world. Every person that you meet has an opportunity to generate multiple deals for you month after month, year after year, for your entire career. I was fortunate enough that when I started in automotive sales just simply on a fluke, I didn't write that 6th grade essay saying that when I grow up, I want to sell cars. That's not how it went.
Are you sure?
I had a buddy who said, hey, why don't you come out? Why don't you come out and try to sell cars? But to this card, one of the things that kind of separates the way that I was introduced to the business and what's going on today is, if you can see this card, the first step in the process is to prospect. You have to go out and work hard to create an opportunity to sell a vehicle. Salespeople now, they don't have to put that work in before they even find somebody to talk to. They kind of sit back and wait for the bus to show up. And then if we have a follow-up process in place, they're in the ballgame. But anybody who's out there and they are training salespeople or hiring salespeople or putting young people in front of their general public that they're investing so many dollars to drive to the dealership, if you don't train your salespeople, you're missing a vital piece of the equation. And I used to always get when I would sell training programs, I'd always get that response, man, you're too expensive. It was like, if you think it's expensive to train your people, wait till you find out how expensive it is not to train your salespeople. When they're running your prospects off left and right, and not basically, just following through. Big part. It's not follow up, it's follow through with the prospects and the opportunity that you have out there, because it's just, and you said it, Chris, don't want to reduce it to the ridiculous, but it is ridiculous how simple it is. If you treat people the way that you want to be treated, answer their questions, present them with options, you'll earn the business. Ask
how about if we have active listening after you answer their question, present them with options? Let me rephrase that. If we have active listening and after we answer their questions, if we just shut up with some active listening They'll tell you exactly what options to present them because they will tell you how to sell them a car.
Oh, yeah. And something else, if we would just implore active listening, we'll hear the answer to the questions and people will tell you, they'll give you the roadmap on how to sell them. Did you see what I did there?
Yes.
I wasn't listening to what you said before I did. And so I repeated what you said. And so, if I had been actively listening, I wouldn't have repeated that message. but Chris, it's simple. It really is simple. Ask the right questions. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. If you listen twice as much as you talk, you'll build a foundation of success and you just build on it. And then even, some people, it frustrates me, Chris, because training salespeople is simple. They're basic fundamentals. There's a 10-step process here. I've used that in every conversation I've had with anyone in the automotive industry ever since. And it took me 2 weeks to master that, and the last follow-up, the last step, follow-up, everything in between, everybody has kind of their own little twist on it, but prospect and follow-up, I think one of the proudest days in my life, and you might not remember this, Chris, you called me. You were sitting across from a gentleman that I sold a vehicle to. Name is Buddy Jones, who was a general manager within the
down in San Angelo.
Yeah, down in San Angelo. Absolutely. I met this guy, sold him a truck. He needed a truck to pull his boat. And this is one of those one-shot wonders because he lived Midland, Odessa area, was coming through Lubbock while I was working at Gene Messer Ford. I think it may have even been a phone up. He called because he was an hour away and said, "Hey, I'm pulling my boat and my truck's not getting it. I need to do something else." I was like, "All right, tell me what you're driving. What are you towing? You'll be here in an hour. I'll get you ready and we'll get you hooked up like a tow truck." Dude showed up to the dealership. I showed him 2 different options, had the figures, payments, all of that laid out for him. Came in, long into the story, he bought. Boom, right then, right there. Now, while I'm finishing up paperwork, I realize and I find out that he is a general manager of a dealership in the Midland, Odessa area, selling a competing brand, which I thought was kind of funny. But, I was like, all right. And we got it taken care of. But my job was not done at that point because I was always told that every person that you sell is going to open the door to other opportunities to continue to sell. And I followed up with him. The job doesn't stop when you make the delivery. You stay with it. And every single step in that process, fortunately for me, was driven in the back of my skull that if you drop the ball on any one of those, you're not doing the job. And so
it's the walls of Jericho. It just comes down on you.
Absolutely. And so, long story short, I guess it might've been 10, 12 years after I made that sell to Buddy Jones. And you could probably finish the conversation, tell that end of the story better than I can. But I thought, it was one of the biggest compliments that I've ever received. So why don't you pick it up on where you were introduced, or Buddy Jones kind of rounds out the story from running into a salesperson.
It was still in another sales moment. Is when I was still, when I was working for my previous company and we were selling them, a software. And he remembered that instance. Somehow your name got brought up. It all tied together. And the long and the short of it is we ended up selling Buddy again, but not a vehicle. We sold him some software. It was just why the relation, the follow-up, the road to the sale following it. Renaldo, you pulled your card out. Here's mine. This is laminated, John, from back in 1995, 94. Why do I still have this? Because here's the part I want to read to you. The part I want to read to you, and maybe I can get the camera to pick it up. The camera is not picking it up. All right.
Yeah, no. What
But
was that?
it says,
looked like
it
it's
says
raining.
this right at the top. 6 steps to the sale.
Hold on, we're about to lose Papa. He's yawning.
Oh, shit.
He's gonna get warm
90%,
milk going.
90% attitude, 10% ability. What it says right at the top.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
John, now you can't pull yours out. I know, because it would take the whole screen up because it was scribed.
Is
I
it
can't.
a tablet?
Chisel. And,
Too heavy to carry.
yeah. But you know, guys,
I had
this
one.
is
I had one. It just
the-
got ate up, man, for being around so long. It got ate up. So
No.
imagine that. I mean, from back in
Yeah.
the 80s.
But
it's true.
But here's one of the things. I mean, just to go back to, we were both fortunate enough to get into organizations that really believed in the training process, accountability, and pouring into salespeople, because that was going to drive the profitability and the production of what that store produced on a daily basis. Processes in place, and it was just fortified with accountability. Because if you dropped the ball on one of these steps, what happened?
Game over.
Yeah. I mean, if I were sitting, and this is another thing, wherever I've been, if I misstepped, there was always somebody there that just kind of tightened up the screws on me a little bit. And if I brought a deal jacket to the sales manager and I'd missed one of these 10 steps, what happened? He'd pick up the phone. And need salesman to the sales office, and that deal jacket. Here, finish this up. That customer needs to go over to finance. So just like that, I had a half a deal.
Just because you didn't do your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Would that happen today?
Oh, no.
Oh,
gosh, no. John, there's takeaway number one. And, we've been on the salesperson on this and a little bit on the managers on this, but takeaway number one is, and Renaldo said it the best. I mean, you think it costs a lot for the training. What's it cost you to not be trained? What does that cost you? Nobody ever really puts a pencil to that.
Mm-mm.
But
No.
John, when it comes to, okay, yeah, we got managers that need to train the salespeople, and really let's get away from train for a minute, because they were all trained, but are we coaching them outside of game time? Not when they have a customer, but pre-game. Are we doing a walkthrough during practice? Are we doing those walkthroughs? Are we training them? But John, one of the things that you've talked about that you did in your store when you were running your store in your time as a leader in the stores, forget the salespeople for a minute. How much training of the trainer did you do, and how much should be done in today's time? Because I will tell you now, I think there needs to be even more training of the trainer today than there was back then. But what did you do?
I invested in people to come in. Look, I was blessed with some great partners at that store, leadership guys that were experienced and hard workers. So I was very blessed. But I had some folks come into the store. I had Mark Tewart come in and spend some time with our team. Ed had Tommy Gibbs come in and spend some time with our entire group. Right. So, we invested in people from that perspective to get outside perspective in. Right. I was just looking through some notes from previous podcasts where we've had people come on the podcast, and, I just flipping through here and just, everyone has KPIs. Do you believe in our mission? What does your individual growth path look like? We are responsible we are responsible for offering a growth path. You're responsible for walking on that path, right? So that's two sides of that story, right? And I part of the reason why we went here today, just to reiterate, is our goal for everyone that's watching, listening, all of our dealer partners, is that you're taking full advantage of the opportunities that the market's presenting you. We talked about shopper counts being up, right? There's a level of customer counts in the marketplace every day that those don't go to zero. There's people in the market every day. So
always somebody looking.
Right. So, I loved what I'm going to go to one thing Rob Dell said: we collect customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. It's what we do. Right. And so, guys, I talked about, strategy wise for people that are listening or watching, right? Like them, right? If you've got them, are you taking care of them? Are you contacting them? Are you giving them good content? Is your team, have you trained your team on how to deliver top shelf content to your customers? Right? Everybody's on a cell phone nowadays. Everybody has those high powered computers in their hand all the time. And everybody's looking at content. So shouldn't I meet them where they're living at? So what kind of content are my salespeople delivering to our prospective customers? Do you know that? Have you been in your CRM? Have you looked at the quality of conversation going on between your sales team and your customers? And then if I've got a unit sitting on my lot and it doesn't have a customer on it, let me ask all the managers and general managers and owners out there, if you've got a car sitting on your physical lot and it hasn't had a customer on it, do you know that? And if it hasn't had one, what do you do about it? What are you telling your management team to do about it? If a customer comes in if a customer comes in and not really sure what they want, are those list of cars ones that you're going to have your salespeople go show? So how do you do that on your virtual? What is your game plan for your inventory sitting out there on your virtual lot that doesn't have a customer on it? If we agree that 100% of our customers start out virtually, and then they end up on our physical, right? Or we end up going to, as Chris said earlier, we end up going to their business, or we end up going to their home and delivering a vehicle to them, right? How much of your inventory sitting out? How much of your inventory sitting out there without a customer on it? And if it's not, what's your process? Is your process the old antiquated way that we've always done? Doesn't have a customer, I'm just going to change the price. And you keep changing the price, and then you complain about you're not making any gross. Is that a solid strategy for a car that doesn't have a customer on it, just to continue to drop the price? How about managers out there that find a car and it needs attention box on your inventory management tool and you drop the price $50? What are you accomplishing by doing that? I got to ask you, what do you, I'm getting a little fired up now because I see this all the time. What do you accomplish? You got a $60,000 vehicle and you drop the price $100. What are you accomplishing? What do you want? What's the response going to be for, are you, and then you're going to ignore it for another 7 days. I dropped the price. I took care of it because it was in my needs attention box. And then I ignore it for another 7 days. Now all of a sudden it's 48 days old. What's the strategy behind that? Is that a strategy? So,
no.
These are some of these things that you guys need to be asking yourselves, right? What kind of conversations are we having with our customers? And what am I doing about inventory that I don't have a customer on? Right? When it comes to what we started this call out about with bucket management, and how to navigate my inventory so that I get my responsibility as a manager, shove everything off your desk, push it all off your desk. Your responsibility as a manager of dealership is to take the dollars invested from your owner in the used car inventory or new car inventory and get the highest rate of return on those dollars invested. How do I do that? What are the processes that help me do that? Because that's the number. You want to be you want to have longevity at a store. You want to have an opportunity to potentially own a store yourself someday. Be good at that. Be good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Turn the metal into money. Turn that metal into money. And I mean, that is the job. So, we think about today's call and golly, this is one that, guys, we can talk for hours upon hours upon hours on. But takeaway number one, I mean, let's make sure our team is coached up the way they need to be coached up. Takeaway number two, when we talk about, the things from the OEM, okay, if we're not going to get 100% the support that we need, that maybe the support they're giving is support, but it doesn't align with how my store and my market with my people are selling. Okay, well, how do we take what they have and realign it? That would be takeaway number two that I would look at. And then takeaway number three here is train your actual trainers, which is your managers. They're the ones that are in there to coach up your team to turn that metal into money, which is exactly what John's talking about. It's like being a stockbroker. They give you $2 million worth of inventory. How do I take that $2 million and turn it into 2.5? How do I turn it into 3 million? How do I turn it into 4, etc.? Those are the things that we're talking about, folks, that you guys should be looking at each and every single day. Push everything off your desk. Is my team ready? Are we aligned with what our manufacturer is doing? And if not, how can we get aligned? And if we can't get aligned, then don't try to take the square peg and put it in the round hole.
Right.
And then number three, train your trainers or coach up the people coaching up those on the front line that are the catalyst to turning that metal into money.
Yep.
So those are the three takeaways I would say. Renaldo, closing, 30 seconds. What do you got?
In every situation, every period of time in history, there has been conditions that were not favorable for somebody. And they figured out a way to take the things they could control and control them well and turn the tide in their favor or in their direction. Now's the time to, if you have not already taken the steps to be able to, control what you can control. I mean, I would sit down, take a look at where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and put your energy, time, and effort towards streamlining that and making sure that you are positioned to control what you can control and turn the metal into money.
100%. John, 30 seconds. No, you don't get 20 minutes back because of Elon.
Renaldo nailed it. Renaldo absolutely nailed it. He put the nail in the coffin, man. Control what you can control.
That's
there
it.
You have it.
That's it.
That was beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Control what you can control. Right.
I love it. I love it. So that being said, listeners, viewers, LotTalkPodcast.com, share it, subscribe to it, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, okay, anywhere you can consume this, jump-ish, save it, okay, follow it, get the alerts on it. Also, you want to take this conversation even farther. You want to jump in. You want to be a guest and tackle some of the different topics that we've talked about. Hey, push back. If you think we're psychotic on a topic and we're dead wrong, please jump on. Sit there, reach out to John Anderson, reach out to Renaldo Leonard, reach out to myself. We will gladly have you. We will gladly enable you to take and put us on the hot seat and show us where we're dead wrong, because we are never done learning. If you're done learning, you're done growing, and then you're dying. That's what happens. So on behalf of Mr. John Anderson, Mr. Renaldo Leonard, I'm Chris Keene. We're from Lotpop. This is Lot Talk powered by Lotpop. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week at the same bat time, same bat channel. Much
Out.
success, Fee.
Love y'all.